I'm AJ Johnson. I'm a professional bowler. I've been bowling on the PBA tour for the last 8 years. I also compete with Team USA, and I'm a proud user of Zero In through the Root products. I started I started when I was 3 years old. Bowling was just something that I always did. I played a lot of other sports too. I was a big football player, baseball, basketball. When I was 3 years old was when I started bowling. I played a lot of other sports growing up. Big into football and baseball, basketball. I play a lot of golf now, but I bowling was just something that I always did. And then as I got into high school, I started taking it a lot more serious. I started bowling more tournaments, bowling a lot of leagues, and I was actually a part of the group who started the bowling program at my high school. So I kind of feel like a bit of a founder in that regards. Me and a bunch of us that bowled league together, we convinced our high school to give us a team and said, "Hey, look, all the other schools in our conference have boys bowling except for us. And we promise you that if you give us a team, we will not lose to any other school in our conference." And for the first 2 years, we did that. We never lost. Went to state first the first 2 years. Actually, my junior year was when we finished second at state, and our school took us a lot more serious then. They realized we weren't joking around. So yeah, that part was pretty cool. Which then led to bowling in college. I bowled for McKendree University down in the southern part of Illinois, where I got to do a lot of cool things with the team. We bowled on our first ever bowled for a national championship my sophomore year. The first time that McKendree men's team bowled for a national title. Um, and then, just personally, I was player of the year my junior year. I was an All-American all 4 years. I did a lot of really cool things. And then partially with some of the guys that I helped bring in to McKendree, the year right after I graduated, the men's team won their first ever national title.
Wow.
And so it was pretty cool. It was gratifying. It hurt a little bit, obviously, wanting to be a part of that, but I still felt just as much a part of that as them because, those were a lot of the guys that I bowled with and a lot of the guys I spent my time with when I was in school. So, um, and then when it really first clicked to me about bowling professionally was actually my senior year of college. I bowled a tournament called the USBC Masters, which is one of our majors. And as a senior in college, I qualified first for the TV show. Um, and had to bowl the reigning player of the year, and after just beating him the night before to get the number one seed. And after that show, it didn't go the greatest, but after everything, I kind of looked at it as, what, like this was what I needed to reassure myself that this is what I'm going to do for a career, that I belong out here, and this is the path that I'm going to take.
Wow.
Little did I know it was gonna be a hard, long fought battle to get to where I'm at now. Took me about 7 full years on tour to win my first national title. I had done a lot of cool things prior to. I bowled for major titles, won a lot of regionals, was regional player of the year. Um, I won the PBA League, which is the big team competition that we have. Um, and I was I was a part of a lot of cool things with the Team USA, winning a lot of gold medals and stuff. But you know, getting to that elusive title, things that which is what we bowl for out on tour. Um, it took a lot of good times, dark times, and a lot of trial and error, a lot of hard work, and a lot of things done behind the scenes that not a lot of people knew or nor would know about. Um, but yeah, that's kind of in a
Wow.
shorter version my journey. Oh, that's Pete Weber.
Yeah,
He
that's who
is
it is. Yeah.
yeah, he was the bad boy of bowling.
He was.
Yeah, he was a true icon. He's retired full time from the regular tour. He bowls some senior stuff. But yeah, I mean, he was an icon. He kind of made it cool to show emotion on TV. He he was one that wasn't afraid to say something uh, because of a fear of backlash or something. He didn't care, and his I guess trademark or his line, no matter what, was if you hated me or loved me, either way, you still tuned in and watched.
Yeah, it's true. Because I watched
So
him on
it
Saturdays.
was. Oh yeah, absolutely. So in that regards, he was a true icon and a pioneer, paved the way for a lot of us. The first and foremost one for me is my father. I wouldn't be doing what I do if it wasn't for my dad. I wouldn't have gotten as far. I wouldn't have learned the things that I learned. My dad was the one I got to watch bowl from the time I was from when I was this age, all the way up until I could finally throw my first bowling ball. And um, my parents met in a bowling center. My grandfather was a bowler. We were just I learned how to walk in a bowling center, so it was just something I was always around, and my dad was the biggest influence I had in that. I would throw fits if I didn't get to go with him to the national tournament every year. So I loved it. So he's the first one, and then one guy that I always tell people that I've reverted back to of who I used to always watch and kind of emulate my game after and everything was uh, his name's Tommy Jones. He's a USBC PBA Hall of Famer, one of the best bowlers ever to be a part of the PBA and to ever lace him up. Was teammates with him on Team USA for a few years. We won a team world championship gold medal together, and just a guy that I've always, whenever I have like some issues with my game, I've always gone back and watched videos of him and kind of seen where where I could fix what I need to fix with watching him and stuff. So it was he's still to this day. I mean, him and I both doubles together in the PBA doubles tournament. So it's kind of cool for it to come full circle for me in that regards.
Wow.
So for me, a lot of the harder training or the more intense workouts and stuff I do is kind of in our quote unquote off season. During the season and while we're bowling, it's a lot of maintenance stuff for me. So, it's cardio, it's core work, it's a lot of body weight stuff when I'm traveling and on the road. One thing that I really like to do, one of the first days when I get into the next city that we're bowling is just go and get a workout in because it just helps get my body rejuvenated. It kind of gets rid of some of the lactic acid and things that build up from the constant motion from what we do day to day. Um, and it just helps my body recover as well. Yes, workouts are meant to break muscles down and things like that, but it can also be used as a recovery tool to help, keep your body in, the way that it needs to be. Um, and then when away from bowling and stuff is when I try to pick up the workouts a little bit more. They're not as much as they have been in the past, with a little, having to be dad a little more often now. But I still find times, even with him, whether that's, going on walks with him, doing stuff in the yard, or even just doing stuff in the house. I find ways to try and make sure that I'm doing something and staying active. Um, and then as far as bowling training with practice, when I'm getting ready for a season is usually probably like 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks in advance is when I really start to amp up a lot of bowling that I do. I'll bowl, three, four, sometimes 5 times a week for 2 to 3 hours at a time to get sharp, to work on all the different tools, the different bowling on different patterns, seeing different shot shapes, all that stuff, and just getting everything sharp, getting my body sharp, getting everything in order so that I know that when I'm going to events, all I have to worry about is figuring out the lane pattern week to week, and I'm not having to fish around or fix some things. Now during the season, if there's something that I'm feeling or something that our ball reps or one of my coaches is like, hey, we might want to work on this a little bit, then I'll try to spend 45 minutes to an hour or so
Hmm.
away from the tournament working on that and trying to get everything back in order. But one of the cool things with us with our tournaments is we get a 2-hour practice session prior to every event starting. So you can use that however you see fit. I try to do it to where you figure out what the pattern is, what bowling balls are going to work good on the lane surface, the pattern, all that, all that good stuff. And then also using those practice sessions to, if you need to fix something, if you need to, target something that you kind of feel off, you can do that, and you don't get penalized for it because you're not doing it during an event, or you're not bowling for score. The one constant thing that we have whenever we go to tournaments and when we bowl stuff is that the lane is 60 feet long from the foul line to the head pin, and it's 39 boards in width.
Okay.
That constant is always going to be there no matter what. Now, the one thing that is always different, and things that we use our practice sessions for, and things that we have to kind of figure out, is what we call topography. So the lanes themselves in every bowling center, they're not all flat. They may appear to be, but they have this. If you look at it at a very microscopic level, and there's actually machines that go up and down the lanes and kind of read that topography, the peaks and valleys, you can tell if a lane is leaning to one side or another, if it's downhill, uphill. You can figure out where all that stuff is to figure out if certain parts of the lane hook more than others. If a lane is going to be tight, if the next lane that you're moving to is going to be tighter, even though there's already been 2 games bowled on it, in your head you're like, well, there's been 2 games bowled on it. It should hook more, but because of that topography and that underlying stuff that you can't see, it says on a graph that it's going to be tighter. So you have to adjust accordingly, and you also have to pay attention to what your bowling ball is doing in order to see that and make adjustments and make reads off of that, so that way you can try to get the most out of that pair for
Well,
that game. So a lot of times I've equated, guys that play golf is, I'm like, hey, let's say you and I go and play golf together. I get up on the tee box. There's water on the right. There's trees on the left. There's a bunker in front of the green on the right hand side. I hit my tee shot because I can see all of that. Now you have to step up and hit your tee shot based off what you saw off of mine. But now all of those hazards and all those things have moved around, and you don't know it. You have to make a guess and hit your shot based off of what mine did. And so people are like, whoa, I've never heard it equated that way. Oh man, it's that's the $1 million question, right? If everyone had the true answer to that, I don't know that anyone would ever lose. But
well,
for me, I've always wanted to have a family. I've always, wanted to, obviously have a son, and be able to do all those things with. And yeah, I mean, I thought at first I was going to be like, you know what, I know it's going to be tough, but I'll be able to, you know, not necessarily worry about it, but I do. And, a lot of what I do now, is for me to kind of show him at some point in time, like, hey, look what dad was, look what dad was able to do. And that's where all that comes from is, I want to not only give him the best life and be able to give him whatever it is that he wants, as well as Allie, but also, being able to, kind of have somebody to look up to and have somebody to go like, holy cow, like that's my dad. So I kind of view it in a couple of different ways. Like I've always put a lot of pressure on myself, even before I had him, and before I had the family. It was all personal. I've always wanted to get to a point where I wanted to be considered one of the greatest to ever put bowling shoes on, and so I've always put a lot of pressure on myself because I've held myself to a higher regard,
mm-hmm.
which is partially maybe because of it's partially the reason why I have some of the things I do, and maybe it also has been a detriment from me accomplishing some bigger things than what I have than what I already have. But on the other side of it, I've always also viewed, and that's through my mental coach, is here, buddy. is kind of viewing pressure as a privilege. Not everybody gets the opportunity to feel that pressure. They
Hmm.
don't get the opportunity to be in those situations and be able to have that opportunity to do something like what I've had the chance to do so many times. And so I view it as a privilege, and I try to embrace it as much as possible and enjoy it, as much as also wanting to seize that opportunity and take full control of it, and making the best out of every situation. So it's a couple different things for me, and obviously on the other side of it, with him being around, it does add a little more to it. But I try to embrace it and try to do as much as I can with it, because, like I said, it is a privilege, and sometimes I let that get away from me, when I'm in the heat of competition. Is I don't think back on all the things that I've gotten the chance to do and have done through the sport, and so I have to remind myself of those privileges and being in the moment that I'm in. There is one person, it is sports related. It's not someone from, not from the way past, and someone who actually just retired from the game. Um, just to learn his mindset and how he went into his work every day and trying to equate that to bowling would be Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anyone worked as hard as he did. I don't think anyone had the mindset that he did that allowed him to win as many times as he has. Um, it's just that for going being the 199th pick in the draft to what he amounted to is just incredible. And learning from that and trying to pick up on things to equate that to what I do with bowling, um, I think would be absolutely amazing. He always had the ability to get it done. He always was able to figure out whatever it was that he needed to, and he never thought that he was going to lose.
Right.
And it's impressive to see from where he went from until and then all the way through the end of his career, that it just his mindset was different than everybody else. I use I use zero in almost on a regular basis. I love on competition days. I'll take two of them before, and then days that I'm not, I'll just take one, because I just love the feeling of almost like a sense of calmness, and being able to just focus in on what it is that I need to focus on, and you know if taking something helps me do that, then so be it, because we're always looking for an edge. We're always looking for something that can aid in what it is that we're trying to do. And I have noticed that there has been times when I haven't taken it, whether it's running out of it or just I just forgot to, is I'm a little bit more on edge. I let things bother me a little bit more than when I do take it. And I don't know that I don't know that there is a direct correlation. Maybe there is. I don't know, but since I had started taking it, I won my first title in Sweden. I won a gold medal in the Pan Am Games, which is the closest thing to the Olympics that bowling has, and have started bowling a lot better at a much more consistent basis. It wasn't just a hit or miss here and there, and taking it for competition purposes is just like I said, it's made me feel more of a sense of calmness. It's made me focus on my task at hand. It's made me slow things down a little bit more. Really, using zero in really does help with all that. And I get nervous for every tournament. I get nervous for every TV show. Uh, but those kind of help those butterflies all fly in the right direction, all fly in the same direction, and it and it's a pretty cool feeling because I never thought taking something I like when I'm in the middle of doing whatever it is that I'm doing, I never thought that I would feel anything that it does. But I have felt when I've been bowling, like I felt it kind of almost take over in a way where I'm having an issue with something or trying to figure something out, and I'm like, man, what is going on? And I just take a step back and I'm like, wow, I would have been able to focus on that or wouldn't be able to slow that down, had I not had the help of zero in. So
Right.
it's been a big benefit to me, and I love taking it. I've got quite a few of those.
Isn't that hard? I mean, it's not something everybody
Um,
does, right? I mean, it's not a normal.
no, but it depends on where it's at. So PBA wise, I think I have 8 or 9 now. But overall, in time, bowling in leagues and stuff like that, we bowl on what we call house shot, typical house shot. So there's a lot of oil in the middle of the lane, not a lot of oil to the outside part of the lane. It's a very easy oil pattern that allows for your everyday bowler, your amateur bowlers to strike a little bit more often. Um, so on in house shots and in those leagues, I probably have somewhere around 80 or so 300s.
Jeez.
I actually just when I was over in Korea recently, I actually the first day of qualifying, I bowled a 300 over there, which was it was pretty cool.
And you were on zero in.
I was on zero in. I make especially when I travel overseas, I I will not go anywhere without that stuff because it helps. It really does help with the competition days after traveling for longer periods of time, and that for me when I especially when I fly, I do a lot of driving for the tour stuff because a lot of it's in the Midwest and they're a lot they're close enough for me to drive, but flying especially like the zero in really does help with that that next day of getting ready to go and getting things
Yeah.
getting ready to bowl competitions and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my must have. And I really appreciate it. I appreciate your guys' interest in our sport and wanting to be involved. It means a lot. I mean, not only to me, but whenever when I the one time actually was pretty cool. I was actually at training camp with Team USA, and I had the box of the zero in stuff sitting on like in front of my area, and the guys on the team would come up and they're like, "What is that? What is that?" And I had them try it, and they're like, that's actually not that bad. That actually does do what it says it does. So it's cool to see that you guys wanting to be a part of that and and help in our sport because we don't get a lot of attention. We don't get a lot of support from other companies because they don't view bowling as a sport. So it means a lot to me. And I appreciate everything. It's pretty cool. We actually are getting ready to bowl the PBA League finals in September out in Portland, Maine. We are the team competition that we have. We are the team that I'm on. We are the number one seed going into the finals. So we we've got a we've got a big week ahead of us in September. So that would actually be cool to kind of see how it all ends because that's kind of that's the last thing that we have on TV for the PBA this year.